We all make mistakes, but we can be smart enough to choose to avoid the pitfalls. In this recording, we're going to talk through 6 classic marketing mistakes. We're going to talk about how suggesting that your product or any other product targets everybody. This is the classic marketing mistake that I see amongst undergraduate business students. We're going to talk about the classic question of standardization versus adaptation in the context of global marketing. And we're going to talk about the big mistake of making assumptions, assuming that you know what your customers want, assuming that marketing is just advertising and sales, assuming that marketing is all about social media marketing. These are mistakes. And another classic marketing mistake that we're going to talk about is entrepreneurs and business owners suggesting that it's okay for their marketing plan to be in their head. That's a mistake, not a good idea. Marketing fail. My name is Dr. Sharon Schembri, and I've been teaching marketing and marketing strategy at universities around the world for the past 25 years. So thanks for tuning in and appreciate your support with likes and shares. You can also choose to subscribe and maybe click the bell for notifications of new content. So let's start with the first mistake of suggesting that your product or any other product is targeting everybody. Coca-cola does not target everybody, neither does McDonald's or Ford. What they do instead is offer a range of products where each product within the range is specifically designed to meet the needs of a narrow consumer segment. The classic Coke consumer is a different person to the Coke Life or the Coke Zero consumer. And Coke does not just offer cola. They offer juice, water, dairy products, and even kombucha. The McDonald's menu includes hamburgers and cheeseburgers, of course, and the signature Big Mac. But more than that, they offer fillet of fish and healthier options such as low-cal wraps and plant-based options. The consumer who chooses the Big Mac is a different person that chooses the low-cal wrap. The cheeseburger is specifically designed for a narrow consumer segment, and that's a different consumer segment that the fillet of fish caters for. Internationally, McDonald's recognizes the need for cultural considerations. So in India, they replace beef with lamb because of religious beliefs. And Indonesia, they offer McRice and halal options. The Ford truck is a highly masculinized product that appeals to a specific consumer. The Ford Fusion is a hybrid engine that appeals to a very different consumer. And beyond trucks and hybrids, Ford also offers sedans, SUVs, and electric vehicles. So by offering a range of products where each product in the range is specifically designed to meet the needs of a narrow consumer segment, Ford is ensuring that they have a product to meet the needs of the specific markets they are targeting. These 3 examples demonstrate a differentiated marketing strategy. So in contrast, when you have one product that targets everybody, that's an undifferentiated marketing strategy. Offering one product to the mass market is what Henry Ford did back in 1910 with the T model release. But marketing is far more sophisticated than that now. And ideally, it's research informed. So what we want to do is research our customers. We want to understand our target market to a depth so that we can design our products and our marketing campaigns to specifically talk to that customer. And we can ensure that our product offer is customized to meet the needs of that precise target market. So what do we learn from this classic marketing mistake? We learn that understanding your customer is the priority. Understanding what their needs are, what they're looking for, and how to communicate with them. Be precise, be specific, and be research informed. So now global marketing. Global marketing is about taking your products and your brands to the world. Doing that with a standardized product offer, where you're offering the same product to each of the foreign markets that you're entering, is a highly efficient approach. But this approach dismisses cultural considerations, and culture matters. Let's start with the basics, such as branding. Brands such as McDonald's and their golden arches are highly recognizable throughout the world. This brand is globally standardized, but McDonald's is smart enough to adapt their product offer in specific countries such as India and Indonesia. And while McDonald's does customize for national preferences in, for example, India and Indonesia, the McDonald's brand is highly consistent and the offer is relatively standardized globally. But some brands forget the need for cultural considerations when entering foreign markets. Coca-cola, taking their Dasani brand of bottled water into the UK, is one such example. So while Dasani is a staple on American supermarket shelves, that does not guarantee success in a foreign market. Dasani is a purified water product, and British consumers rejected the quality of this product as inferior. They prefer filtered water as opposed to purified tap water, which is what Dasani is. So after Coke invested £7 million to launch Dasani in the UK, 3 weeks later, the product was withdrawn. I'll put a link in the description box below if you want to know more about that case. Another example of a global marketing misstep is found with Ford and their venture into the Indian market in the mid-90s. The timing looked great because the Indian government was deregulating the industry, the automobile industry, and consumer disposable income was forecast to rise. But the forecast growth was not realized. Instead of 5 million annual unit sales, the market is more like 3 million. And instead of a 10% growth rate, that figure is more like 4%. In September 2021, Ford withdrew from India with a $2 billion loss. So what went wrong? Well, Indian consumers are highly price sensitive. The Indian government offered tax incentives for small vehicles rather than large. And Ford, with their F-Series as their signature product, simply missed the market. Unlike Ford, Hyundai, a Korean brand of automobile, understood that the Indian consumer is looking for a highly efficient vehicle that provides good value on the resale. And while Ford did have some success over the years in India with their Ford Festiva and their Ford EcoSport, for example, Ford forgot to put the consumer and the consumer's needs at the center of their marketing strategy. What Ford does so well in America with their F-Series simply did not translate so well to the Indian market. Now, one of the biggest mistakes we can make as marketers is to simply assume, making assumptions such as, you know what your customers want. This is a mistake. An essential step in effective marketing is market research. And that includes testing your ideas so that you can get feedback and improve. But making assumptions can be treacherous ground. And some high-profile brands have fallen victim to this mistake. In 1996, McDonald's launched the Arch Deluxe Burger. The target market was adults, and the product was marketed on taste. However, that was the mistake, because McDonald's customers value price and convenience over taste. So the Arch Deluxe was a big customer disconnect for McDonald's. Advertisements for the product showed kids rejecting the taste with the tagline, "It's the burger with a grown-up taste." Ronald McDonald was shown to be playing pool and hitting the golf links. Not a good look for a kid's clown. The product design and the messaging was out of touch with the McDonald's customer, and the Arch Deluxe flopped. In contrast, Henry Ford understood the market that he was targeting in the early 1900s. In the early 1900s, automobiles were expensive and custom made. So Henry Ford saw that the gap in the market was providing an affordable vehicle to the mainstream consumer. So what he did was rearrange the production process to achieve economies of scale and consequently became known as the father of the assembly line. So unlike McDonald's Arch Deluxe Burger, Henry Ford's T model was wildly successful. While most automobile manufacturers at the time were assuming their customers were highly affluent and looking for a custom-made product, Henry Ford anticipated a market gap where the everyday consumer could access a vehicle. He understood that by manufacturing a product that his workers could afford, he was creating a market that did not yet exist. Providing mainstream consumers with a vehicle that they could afford did not just enable transportation, it opened the door to adventure. Now, unlike Ford and his market insight, Coke attempted to deliver on some market research they did back in the 80s, but got it oh so wrong. When Coke sales were declining back in the 70s, Coke decided to do some blind taste testing. And that research showed that consumers preferred the sweet of taste of Pepsi. So Coke set about adjusting their recipe to make it sweeter. And in 1985, Coke launched New Coke. Sounds reasonable, right? The problem was that Coke's research did not factor in the emotional connection that consumers had to their beloved Coke. So while the taste tests that were conducted may well have been accurate, the research question was off track. What Coke should have been asking was that if we make our Coke sweeter, will you buy the product? The answer was no. The market research clearly showed that New Coke would be a success because consumers preferred the sweeter taste of New Coke over Pepsi and original Coke. So Coca-Cola launched New Coke and confidently withdrew original Coke from the shelves. But it was a huge disaster. Consumers protested in the streets and there was a massive media backlash. New Coke was an epic fail, and restoring original Coke to the shelves did not subdue the Coke loyalists. New Coke had to be withdrawn in full and immediately at a massive cost. So what can we learn from these fails? We learn that consumers have an emotional connection to the products and brands that they are loyal to. So talk to the customers, listen to the customers, do your homework, do the market research, get the feedback, refine, revise, rather than assume. So what marketing mistakes do you see out there? Maybe you've noticed some of the tone-deaf tweets that some brands have put out with regards, for example, the Black Lives Matter movement. Or maybe you've noticed some lightly veiled greenwashing pitched as corporate social responsibility. Let me know in the comments below. All right, so let's talk about some other assumptions. Assuming that marketing is just advertising and sales is a very narrow way to understand marketing. Marketing, effective marketing, is so much more than that. And if you understand the comprehensiveness and the complexity of all that marketing is, then you'll have a better chance to design and implement successful marketing strategy. So what is marketing? Marketing is a process of creating and exchanging values between the firm and stakeholders such as customers and the broader community. Customers and other stakeholders are seeking benefits, and if the organization understands their needs, then a value offer can be effectively designed, packaged, communicated, and ultimately sold in the marketplace. So this statement indicates that marketing begins with customer insight and carries through to product and packaging strategies, for example, as well as integrated marketing communications. So paid advertising is just one small component of your integrated marketing communications strategy. Yes, advertising is necessary because we want customers to be aware that our product is available and these are the benefits that the consumer will receive. But customers are looking for more than functional benefits such as comfort and convenience. Some customers seek meaningful experiences, and while some consumers are price sensitive, others are willing to pay a premium for status and transformation. So what do we learn from this marketing mistake? We learn that advertising and sales are simply two elements in a more comprehensive marketing mix strategy. So now let's talk about social media. Back in 2004, when Facebook launched, the power of social media was not as apparent like it is today. Prior to the Facebook launch, the value of word of mouth was increasingly recognized, but largely unmanageable. The proliferation of social media platforms has demonstrated the true strength of social media with regards to influence, because electronic word of mouth enables amplification and direct measure. However, simply engaging on social media is not enough. Even when engagement is high or viral, that does not necessarily translate to revenue. So currently, and according to Hootsuite, there are about 3.96 billion social media users globally. That represents a 51% penetration rate in the global market, with about a 10.5% annual growth rate and 99% accessing social media via a mobile phone. So the revolution that social media has delivered is a shift in power away from the organization, away from the marketer, and to the consumer. Social media has given consumers a voice like never before. This means a loss of control for the organization, and some organizations do better with that than others. Some organizations are more willing to collaborate with the customer rather than dictate to the customer. Old school organizations, for example, are less flexible. Startups, for example, have come along and embraced the collaboration that social media enables with the customer. Thing is that social media is just one small component in an effective digital marketing strategy. And then digital marketing is just one element in a comprehensive and effective marketing mix. And just like key to an effective branding strategy is consistency, that applies to social media and digital marketing as well. Each of the social media platforms have different formats, and the messaging needs to be tailored to that format. But the content of the message needs to be consistent across the platforms. More than that, social media activity as a whole needs to be considered as an ecosystem for an organization that works in a holistic manner. And this holistic view applies to the broader digital marketing strategy, as well as the more comprehensive marketing mix. So to assume that marketing is all about social media marketing is a very narrow perspective and a mistake. Astute marketers and brand managers understand that social media marketing is just one element in the more comprehensive marketing mix. So what do we learn from this mistake? We learn that social media marketing is just one element in the more comprehensive marketing mix. So let's talk about the final marketing mistake, suggesting that my marketing plan is in my head. Now, many small business owners and entrepreneurs fall victim to this one because they're so busy and overwhelmed running the business that strategic thinking is out of reach. The danger with that is that their business is akin to drifting on the open seas. Taking the time to do the work and understand the macro environmental dynamics and industry trends ensures that your business is in the best possible position to anticipate market changes. This is smart business, astute marketing, and profitable strategy. Expecting yourself or any other business owner to hold all of that information in their head is not good business, and it doesn't communicate to the other people involved. So we'll discuss the contents of the marketing plan in another video, but basically the value of the marketing plan is not in the document. The value of the marketing plan is in the analysis that goes into the marketing plan, planning strategically what macro environmental factors are relevant and need to be monitored for your particular business, anticipating where industry trends are headed, understanding to a depth the core competencies that your organization offers, and how to translate all of that into a comprehensive and effective marketing mix that is consistent across the elements and strategically implemented in a systematic manner. This is the marketing plan. So to suggest that your marketing plan is in your head is an admission that you haven't done your homework. It's an admission that a research-informed strategy is missing from your business model. Right. So we've now talked through our 6 classic marketing mistakes. We've talked about the mistake of assuming that your product or any other product targets everybody. That is not the case. We've talked about the question of standardization versus adaptation in the global marketing context. We've also talked about assumptions such as assuming you know what your customers want, or maybe assuming that marketing is just advertising or social media marketing. These are mistakes, and they are mistakes to be avoided. The final mistake we talked about is entrepreneurs and business owners suggesting that it's okay for their marketing plan to be in their head. It's not. Not smart business and not astute marketing. We need to do better than that. Right, so if you like the content presented here and if you think the information is useful, it'd be great if you could subscribe to watch related content and future uploads. Marketing is everywhere and there's so much to learn, but let's take it one step at a time. Give yourself the advantage and choose to work with me today. I'll hear from you soon.